Welcome to Brainy-tainment, where we make learning fun and accessible. Today we delve into a topic that's both fascinating and vital: gluten. We'll uncover what gluten actually is, how it interacts with our bodies, and why it's important to understand its role in our diet. From the bread we eat to the beer we drink, gluten is a common ingredient that's often misunderstood. So buckle up as we unravel the mystery behind gluten. To begin with, we need to understand what gluten actually is. So let's dive right in. Gluten is a natural protein that's found in several types of grains, including wheat, barley, and rye. It's the glue that holds food together, giving bread its airy and fluffy texture and dough its sticky, elastic quality. Think of gluten as the binding agent that makes our pastries hold their shape and gives pasta its unique chewy texture. In essence, gluten is composed of two primary proteins, gliadin and glutenin. These two proteins combine when water is added to flour, creating a network that provides elasticity and strength to the dough. Gliadin gives the dough its extensibility, meaning it can stretch without breaking, while glutenin provides elasticity, allowing the dough to spring back into shape. But where do we typically encounter gluten in our daily lives? Well, gluten is not just in our bread and pasta, it's in a wide range of foods we consume every day. It's in our breakfast cereals, our lunch sandwiches, and even in our dinner gravies. Gluten is used as a thickening agent in sauces and soups, and it's found in a variety of processed foods, from frozen meals to snacks. And it's not just food. Gluten is also present in items we wouldn't necessarily associate with grains. It's in products like medications, lip balms, and even some types of toothpaste. It's a versatile protein that's become a staple in modern food production. You see, gluten is everywhere. It's in the grains we harvest, the bread we bake, and the pasta we cook. It's in our breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But it's also in places we least expect. It's a silent ingredient hiding in plain sight, making our foods more palatable and our lives more delicious. Now that we know what gluten is, let's move on to how it affects the body. You might be wondering, how does this protein complex affect our bodies? Well, let's dive right in. Gluten, a protein found in grains like wheat, barley, and rye, plays a significant role in our diet. But like any other component of our diet, its effects on the body can be a mixed bag. On the one hand, gluten has its benefits. As a protein, it contributes to our daily protein intake, which is crucial for building and repairing tissues in our body. It also gives bread its unique texture, making it elastic and giving it the ability to rise during baking. But the story doesn't end here. On the flip side, gluten can also have less desirable effects on the body. For some people, consuming gluten can lead to inflammation, a response from the body's immune system. This inflammation can cause a range of symptoms, from bloating and abdominal pain to headaches and fatigue. In some cases, it can even lead to damage in the lining of the intestines. Now, it's important to note that not everyone reacts to gluten in the same way. Some people can consume it without experiencing any adverse effects. However, for others, especially those with gluten sensitivity or celiac disease, the story is quite different. For these individuals, consuming gluten can trigger an immune response, leading to inflammation and other symptoms. It's also worth mentioning that gluten can impact the gut microbiota, the community of microorganisms living in our intestines. Some studies suggest that a diet high in gluten can alter this microbiota, potentially leading to a range of health issues, from digestive problems to immune disorders. Moreover, there's a theory that gluten can contribute to leaky gut syndrome. This condition occurs when the walls of the intestines become permeable, allowing substances to leak into the bloodstream. While the connection between gluten and leaky gut is still a topic of ongoing research, some studies suggest that gluten can increase intestinal permeability, especially in individuals with gluten sensitivity or celiac disease. But let's not paint gluten as the villain just yet. It's important to remember that these potential harms are not a concern for everyone. Many people can and do consume gluten without experiencing any adverse effects. However, for those who are sensitive to it or have celiac disease, gluten can indeed be problematic. In conclusion, gluten is a complex protein that can have both beneficial and harmful effects on the body. It can contribute to our protein intake and give bread its unique texture, but it can also lead to inflammation and other issues in some individuals. It's clear that gluten's effects can vary widely from person to person. But what happens when someone can't tolerate it? For some people, gluten can be a real troublemaker. Let's dive into why. Imagine a scenario where consuming a piece of bread or a bowl of pasta becomes a cause of discomfort and even pain. For those with gluten sensitivity or celiac disease, this is an everyday reality. Gluten sensitivity, also known as non-celiac gluten sensitivity, and celiac disease are two distinct conditions that are triggered by the ingestion of gluten. So what is gluten sensitivity? It's a condition where the individual experiences symptoms similar to those of celiac disease, such as bloating, diarrhea, and abdominal pain, but without the accompanying damage to the small intestine. It's important to note that gluten sensitivity is not an allergic reaction, but rather a response by the body's immune system. On the other hand, celiac disease is an autoimmune disorder that occurs in genetically predisposed people. In this condition, the ingestion of gluten leads to damage in the small intestine. Over time, the body's reaction to gluten can cause the villi, the tiny finger-like projections that line the small intestine, to become damaged or flattened. This can lead to malabsorption of nutrients, which in turn can cause a variety of health problems, from anemia and osteoporosis to neurological disorders. So how are these conditions diagnosed? For gluten sensitivity, there is no specific test. The diagnosis is usually made through the process of elimination. If the symptoms improve on a gluten-free diet and return when gluten is reintroduced, a diagnosis of gluten sensitivity may be made. On the other hand, celiac disease can be diagnosed through a combination of blood tests and a biopsy of the small intestine. If the tests show high levels of certain antibodies and the biopsy reveals damage to the villi, a diagnosis of celiac disease can be confirmed. It's crucial to understand that while these conditions can cause discomfort and health issues, they can be managed with the right approach. For both gluten sensitivity and celiac disease, the primary treatment is a strict, lifelong gluten-free diet. This means avoiding all foods that contain wheat, barley, and rye. So it's evident that for some, gluten can be more harmful than beneficial. But what can we do about it? For those who can't tolerate gluten, there is a way out, a gluten-free diet. Now, what does this entail? Well, this means consuming foods and drinks that do not contain gluten, a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. This includes a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, meat, poultry, fish, seafood, dairy, beans, legumes, and nuts. It also involves using gluten-free grains such as rice, quinoa, corn, millet, and flax. The benefits of going gluten-free are numerous, especially for those with gluten sensitivity or celiac disease. It can lead to improved health, increased energy, and weight loss. Plus, it may help reduce digestive symptoms like bloating, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. But living gluten-free is not without its challenges. Gluten is hidden in many processed foods, so it requires careful label reading. Dining out can be tricky too, as many restaurants aren't fully aware of the risks of cross-contamination. It's important to ask questions and make sure the meal is truly gluten-free. Additionally, it's essential to know that a gluten-free diet doesn't necessarily mean a healthier diet. It's the overall balance of foods that matters. A gluten-free cookie is still a cookie after all, so it's necessary to focus on consuming nutrient-dense whole foods for optimal health. So while it may seem daunting at first, with a bit of knowledge and preparation, navigating a gluten-free lifestyle becomes manageable. Adopting a gluten-free lifestyle can be a game changer for those sensitive to gluten. As we've seen, gluten is not a villain for everyone, but it can be for some. It's crucial to comprehend how it affects our bodies. For some, it's harmless, but for others, it can lead to conditions like celiac disease or gluten sensitivity. Living gluten-free can be a viable solution for those affected. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding how your body reacts to gluten could be the key to better health. This is Brainy-tainment. Don't forget to subscribe for more enlightening content. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.